Hello, Showdown Nation. This is Colby Tallafuss, or Twitter at MLB Showdown Guru, and this is my guest host, Kyle Van Pelt.
Yes, I am the MLB Showdown connoisseur.
Today we're going to be talking team building. If you build it, will they come, Kyle?
I think that they will, team building, and today we're talking extreme hitting. What's that mean, Colby?
Extreme hitting. We have 5,000 points to play with in our format. Our format is a 20-player league where you draft from a single year. So this year we're going to be using 2011 as our reference, which means when you draft a player, he is no longer available league-wide, which is helpful and hurtful to a lot of people here.
Absolutely.
So if we're going to be spending 3,200 points, we're going to be hitting a whole lot. Tell us, how would you use these points, and do you like using these points?
Oh, absolutely. This is by far my favorite playstyle. Unfortunately for us Showdown fans, the end of the steroid era really hurts this strategy. You go back to the steroid era, that was great for Showdown. Now we're clean. That's good for life, and we can all be happy about that. Everybody's off the drugs, but that really stinks for this strategy because there is no power, people. We're talking very little power here. If you're going to play this strategy, you've got to go get Jose Bautista. He is an 11 on base, 18 to 20 homer. There's nobody who's going to hit any more home runs than he is. You got to get him and plug him into the number 3 hole for your lineup. And then you can follow him up with a guy like a Curtis Granderson, who's a 9, 17 to 20, and often overlooked. Hits very few singles. Everything is an extra base hit with that guy. He is definitely playing for the card. And then you're going to get a good on base guy up at the top of your lineup and just load 1 through 6, 1 through 7 if you'd like. Hit as many, singles, drive in as many runs as you can. It's going to happen. And you've got to look for that. But very, very, very little power this year, and that's scary with this kind of strategy, don't you think?
I do. I don't think this is going to be the strategy to win unless you're going to do your homework in other places. It's going to be tough to score as many runs in years past. And I hear you talking a lot about this early lineup, 650-point Bautista, 650-point Granderson. Those 3,200 points are going to run out. Is there any way at the end of the lineup that maybe we can save a couple points and not really take it on the chin so much?
Yeah, well, as you guys know out there who've played this game before, there is no way to have 600 pointers all the way through your lineup, which is why you have the point cap. I mean, that's the whole point, is that you can't just load your lineup with a bunch of all-stars because nobody wants to play that way. Couple guys we love at the back end of the lineup here who aren't going to contribute to the scoring runs but are going to contribute in other places. Pudge Rodriguez is arguably a first-round talent in this draft because of all the speed, because of the way the game's changed. He's only 50 points, and he's a plus 11 arm, the only plus 11 arm in the game. You got to go get him if you want to stop the running game. Another guy that I love is Mark Ellis at second base. He's only 10 points, but he's a plus 5 fielder. Not many of those out there this year, and normally you're going to pay more than 10 points for a plus 5 fielder for any guy. So everything else he does is just gravy. Go get him or Pudge, plug them at the back end of the lineup, and that frees you up to do a little bit more when it comes to either your pitching staff or the lineup if you'd like. But, we've talked about how we're going to score runs. Now let's find out how we're going to stop some runs. How are we going to win 8-7? And that's, Colby's going to be all over that.
Like you said, Kyle, how are we going to win 8-7 and not lose 9-8? Because we're going to score those 8 runs. We're going to score the runs we want to score, and 900 points is not all that much. Pedro Martinez would eat up most of that. We would barely get anything productive after that. For 900 points, you can go 350, 250. And then have a little playroom in the back and 200, 100. For that first spot, you can get a 1 to 15, 6-inning pitcher as your ace, and he's going to go up against the Verlanders and the Hallidays. He is not going to look impressive, but remember, he is not going to face your lineup the way Verlander and Halliday are going to face your lineup. He is going to face a lot of subpar players. He's going to face a lot of non-power players.
Yep.
He will not throw a lot of shutouts, and maybe you shouldn't expect him to, but you're not going to be shut out a whole lot, so you can live with that. Remember, great on the curve here. We are in an extreme lineup here.
You're not paying for shutouts this year, people. If you're playing this strategy, shutouts are going to be hard to come by.
Yes, and then you get 250 points of Chin-Ming Wong, somebody in that range. You could really get a productive player.
Yeah.
And then you have 200 and 100 points left, which you could average out if you want. I like Brandon Morrow for 170 points. He has a big non-advancing out. He keeps people on third base, which is going to be huge in this year's draft because people are not going to drive themselves in from the plate. And they're also going to be looking to get some cheap runs on singles, especially those guys who do have the Verlanders and the Hallidays.
Or fly balls or ground balls for that matter. They might try and score runs without getting any hits at all.
This is true, and Morrow's got the ability to keep people on third base, and nobody cares how many people end up on third base. This game is going to be about scoring runs and runs scored, and that is what this lineup needs to focus on if it wants to win. And the big way they're also going to get zeros in big situations is the bullpen.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, I can't stress this enough. The bullpen is where this strategy wins. I think you can take anybody, whether they've ever played Showdown before or they've been playing as long as we have, and have them fill out a lineup for 3,200 points. I mean, that's like, one of the easier things to do in this. The bullpen is where the strategy wins, because those are the guys who are going to mop up for your starters, and they're the ones who are going to keep the zeros in the most important parts of the game. They're the ones who are going to keep you at 7 runs rather than letting them get up to 9. Who are some of the guys you love, Colby? Because this year there's no Billy Wagner. There's no guy who you're really going to go grab in the first round to be your shutdown closer. That name is just not in this draft.
I do not love anybody, thankfully, which is good because I don't have the picks because I'm spending all my picks early on trying to get up to that 3,200 points. The 220 point budget for a closer that a lot of us have, their name's out there. There's no Flaherty. I mean, Mo is always an option. And he always will be, except for this year with the knee. Come back, please, Mo. We love you.
We love you, Mo.
And then the closer's there, and it always is. Everyone has a closer, so that's not really specific. The guy who's probably going to be bigger here for anyone else is that 180 to 200 point player. This is a guy, we're talking 15 innings pitched of relief that your team is going to have to do per series. This guy could carry 5 of those innings. And maybe give up 1 run in those 5 innings, which is very nice. He can go through the heart of the order and then maybe go through your 6, 7, and 8 hitters tired, which is very useful. He also could close games in an extra inning pinch. He could do if your closer's tired. We are going to be using our bullpen a lot. The new facet to this game that we have added, which really changes some things and is going to be a tool for this team, is the 1/3 of an inning pitch guy.
Yeah, your specialists, lefty specialists, any of those kind of guys. Somebody like Boone Logan, right?
Boone Logan, yeah. We're talking for about 50 points. We can get 1/3 of an inning, and these guys can come in and get out. And with our subpar starting pitching, these guys are going to run out of gas. They're going to get caught trying to stretch innings. You're not going to have to burn one of your 6s to try to get out of 1/3 of an inning when really they could pitch a whole inning. So you put in these Boone Logan characters, and they will get you out of the inning, and they're going to put up zeros. They're going to put up straight numbers is what we like. We're not going to be afraid of straight numbers here with this lineup, so this is good. This is how we're going to get out of that. And then you're obviously going to need a mop-up guy because these lineups are just going to be susceptible to big innings against them, and they're also going to be susceptible to winning big. Every once in a while, we might have a 10-2, and I don't want to throw my 6s out there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. You got to have somebody who, even if they give up a homer on their chart and you're going to pay 10 points for that card, but if you're winning 10-2, what do you care if the guy gives up a home run on his chart, right? Don't be afraid of that with this strategy.
Arthur Rhodes is a great pick here. He gives up a home run and a double, but he is super cheap and he is a 3, and he can throw a couple innings if you need him to. Maybe not the clutch innings, but he can throw some innings, and that's really what we're going to have to do from time to time. How many relievers would you carry, Kyle?
Yeah, I think you got to have at least 6. Would you agree with that?
5 at the bare minimum would be, when I sat and looked at it, 6 is good. I carried 7 on my team this past year with a couple of mop-up guys, which I liked, but it only gives you 1 pinch hitter, so that is...
I see. He says 5 minimum. I think you got to have at least 6 and probably even 7. Go 7. I'm not a huge proponent of having a very deep bench. I like to have 1 guy. Probably go 7 guys, and that brings us to the bench guys. Don't spend 100 points on your bench. We budget that, but really what that does is give you some leeway to throw some points if you might overspend. You get to pull from that little savings account that is known as the bench. Go get a guy like a Victor Martinez. He's a 200-point player, but you know that the bench you're allowed to divide that by 5 because he's only playing a little bit. So 200 points comes down to 40. You have a great 10 on base guy coming off. He can hit you a double. He can get you in a scoring position. And that's a perfect guy for this strategy because that's just what you need. So go get that, load your bullpen up, and win with your bullpen. Right, Colby?
That is what I would do. That is how I think you're going to win games and not end up losing really frustrating games there down the stretch.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, everybody. This is the 2011 Extreme Hitting Team Builder. Remember, play for the card,